Welcome to Brownsville at Large, a podcast where we highlight the people, projects, and possibilities shaping the future of our city. I'm your host, Commissioner Tino Villarreal. Today, we're joined by Bill Dietrich, CEO of the Port of Brownsville, one of the most powerful economic engines in South Texas. From steel and shipbuilding to clean energy and international trade, this port isn't just moving cargo, it's moving the future. We're diving into the jobs, billion-dollar investments, and bold vision shaping the Gulf Coast and beyond. Let's get into it. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tino, Commissioner, at that. Thank you very much. It's definitely an honor and privilege to be here today and to be able to talk about the port. And there is a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I think a lot of things are always going on. And the common thing that we hear all the time is there's a lot of action happening at the port and we don't know about it. And that's not because you don't try to advertise it. That's not because you don't have. It's that one of the things that we lack in the city of Brownsville the most is just information, period. On all levels.
Absolutely.
Information is key, but people lack that kind of information. That is the reason that I created this podcast. It's to highlight all the beautiful things we're doing and make it an informational podcast so that people can chime in, listen, replay, and kind of find out more about what's going on in our area, in our neck of the woods. And so I'm honored to have you here. I know that the port has been very busy. We're going to kind of try to break it down as best as possible. We could have you here for a whole day. We don't want to do that, but we do want to highlight some of the great things that we're doing. So before we start, for all our listeners here and people who are not familiar just with the Port of Brownsville, can you give us a quick overview of the Port of Brownsville and the role it plays in our region?
Yeah, and again, definitely. And when we're talking about information about the port, it is a difficult conversation in the sense that there's so many things going on. There's so many different intricacies in what's happening every day out of the port. And definitely it's information we'd love to be able to get out to the community, and that's what we're doing today. The Port of Brownsville, in a nutshell, what we're looking at is it's a 40,000 acre port in the sense we are the largest land-owning port in the United States. We have a 17-mile long channel that we're currently dredging to 52 feet so we can bring in larger vessels. We have a very diverse portfolio of businesses at the port when we're talking about energy, green energy, steel, aluminum, and any of the break bulk commodities that can be brought into the Port of Brownsville. So with that alone, it keeps us pretty busy. The Port of Brownsville is undergoing a great expansion right now. I would like to call it the phenomenon. There's a nice golden era happening at the port right now with a lot of major manufacturing industries and a lot of companies looking down there and seeing what the potential of the valley is. It's something that you and I have always known has been here, but now we're actually able to showcase this and be able to take advantage of this and do great things for our community.
That's phenomenal. I mean, talk about from international trade, handling steel, energy, aerospace, everything you just talked about. But one of the biggest things the port does too is we think about it as just moving cargo, but it brings jobs, and it brings a lot of jobs. It's moving careers. So can you walk us through the employment numbers and how that kind of translate to our local economy as far as jobs is concerned?
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful question in the sense of when we're talking about the Port of Brownsville, I can tell you that the theme there is jobs for the community. And we're not talking about low-end, low-paying jobs. We're talking about good-paying jobs for the community and the residents of Brownsville. I'm happy to say that in the last year, we've done a poll in the turning basin itself. We've gained 1,000 jobs. Now, that's just organic movement, the stevedores, all the businesses that are having to beef up for all the materials and everything that's coming in. Then aside from that, we've got over 3,000 people working at the Bechtel site right now. So now with all the other industries that are coming out, even some of the smaller ones, we're adding 40, 50 jobs at a time. And this is all accumulating to the point to where we're actually going to be able to say within a couple of years that we could be at 15,000, 20,000 jobs at the Port of Brownsville.
Wow. I have here in my notes that there's 66,212 jobs supported across the state of Texas and over 10,000 plus jobs here in the Rio Grande Valley alone.
Absolutely.
That gives our close to $1 billion of economic boost to our region.
And definitely, and when you're talking about our region, now we're also talking about statewide. We're talking about $12 billion statewide. So when we go to the capital, we go up to Austin. Now the city of Brownsville, the Port of Brownsville, the region in general is being talked about quite a bit because we've provided such a big economic impact to the state itself. The state is starting to see us as movers and shakers, for lack of better words, in this Texas phenomena that we're seeing going on right now.
It's phenomenal. I mean, and the job creation isn't slowing down. If in fact it's diversifying. So one of the examples that comes to mind for me is ship disassembly. That might surprise some people, but what's unique about ship recycling operations here in Brownsville is it's unique.
It
Right.
is unique, and unless you've been out there and you've seen it, it is such a careful process. Our shipbreaking industry is something that I'm very proud of at the Port of Brownsville. There's a lot of industries I'm very proud, but when you look at the shipbreaking industry, it tends to stand the test of time. When economic times are up or when they're down, nevertheless, the shipbreaking industry is always there. And when you look at the amount of expertise that is taken to take apart a ship and to be able to see the manpower, how that's all coordinated is remarkable. I was talking with our local shipbreakers recently. We're looking at about $1 billion of shipbreaking work that's going to be done in the next 10 years at the Port of Brownsville. It is definitely something that we are proud of, we brag about, and also the skills and trades that are learned there can actually transform into other industries that come to the region.
I think since 2014, we have dismantled 6 retired Navy aircraft carriers here at the Port of Brownsville, right? Like not a lot of people know that. I know that when I told that, it's like, that's amazing to me that we can do all of that here and it doesn't interrupt all the other projects that we have going on. If anything, it just adds to the port.
It adds to it. And one thing that we all should be very proud of our shipbreaking industry here, they're certified by the Europeans in the sense that their process is very clean. The highest levels of certification. So when you're talking about shipbreaking, these are the premier industries in the United States. The ones we have here at the Port of Brownsville are the best in the United States for this type of job.
Wow. Well, the port's also making a name for itself in energy, especially clean and renewable energy. What kind of project cargo are you seeing in that sector?
Well, we all know that there's an $18.5 billion LNG plant being built. This year alone, the project cargo, we're looking at 86 to 100 ships that are going to come in this year with project cargo. These are the big modules. These are the big components that are going to actually be clipped together to the LNG plant during its process of being built.
And also your big wind blades, right?
Yes.
You have that, right, going on?
Yeah, the wind blade movement at the Port of Brownsville is quite unique. Our stevedores, our port, has figured out a way to do it the right way, and we're actually one of the choice locations to bring these wind blades. We support many projects around the globe with our wind blade operation.
And that's important for us for both space and green industries, right? Bless you.
Yeah, definitely. Space and green industries is very important to us. Our corporate social responsibility as it relates to how we take care of the environment, and any decision we make that is beneficial to the environment, or let's put it this way, any decision we have to make has to have a benefit to the environment.
Yeah, and also all of this that we talk about is happening through multimodal logistics, vessels, rail, pipeline, and close to 500,000 truck movements per year. I mean, it's a machine.
Absolutely.
Right?
And it is a machine. When you sit there at the Port of Brownsville and you just hear the roar of engines around you, it is, you're watching, the economic spirit of a region happen right in front of you. It's visual. You can hear it. We have 43 miles of rail track at the Port of Brownsville. 100,000 rail cars were sent to Mexico this year from the Port of Brownsville. Like you said, 400,000, 500,000 trucks. Vessel calls are up. So when you're looking at this all in order, this is all happening within synchronicity of each other, and watching this move is it's very exciting.
So let's get down to the numbers, right? The kind of cargo volume that we're seeing this past year, right? 28 million short tons, 12 billion in total economic activity, a record 10.2 billion in combined imports and exports via foreign trade zone number 62. What does all of that mean for statewide and national impact?
I think and I really like that question, when we're talking about national impact, because a lot of times we think just locally. Now, when we're bringing in an LNG plant and we're starting to become, for lack of a better word, strategic for industry to be able to bring items in and to be able to, for people to come in and bring business, we start becoming, very influential at the national level. You think about it, the LNG plant, that's more of a geopolitical issue. We're going to
Mhm.
be able to supply energy to areas of the world who lack this energy due to many different circumstances. So with that alone, the Port of Brownsville is a big strategic component nationally, now to the state, economic, and to locally, we're already seeing what's happening around here.
Wow. Let's stick to the LNG. So we all know you're driving down to South Powder Island, you pass the port, and you see this massive construction going on, 5,000 construction jobs currently. That's the next decade's Rio Grande LNG, correct?
Yes.
And so that's the $18.4 billion investment. It's going to create over 300 permanent jobs with energy output for 34 million U.S. homes.
Mhm.
Now, there's also Texas LNG,
Yes.
right? That's a $3 billion investment, 100 permanent jobs, 1,200 construction jobs, and a capacity of liquefaction.
Sure.
I don't know too much about that, but I
We're
know
looking
that
at
it's
4 million metric tons of LNG that'll be able to, they've already got off takers for all that they're going to be able to produce. So that's very good news. They're moving forward on their project, and we should see some, we're hoping by the end of the year they get a final investment decision and they'll be moving forward. But when you look at all that and you look at that energy industry and you look at all that's there, it's a very interesting number that you brought up, 340 million homes. Think of it this way. Every time an LNG ship comes in, fills up, and we're looking at having, once they're at full capacity, 200, 240 ships a year coming in. Each one of them ships has the capability of providing energy for 60,000 homes for 1 year, in any part of the world. So now we're talking about geopolitical issues here. Now, if we're
sure.
able to provide that energy and be able to sustain economies beyond the Port of Brownsville, that makes us very important on the national scale, at the state scale, and we definitely profit from it locally.
I'm going to shift to infrastructure. The Brazos Island Harbor Channeling Deepening Project. It's a mouthful. So
It's a tongue twister.
it's a tongue twister. So
How about we say BIH project? There you go. That's what I've learned how to do.
I love it. The BIH project. So, what will it allow the port to do that it couldn't before?
Well, definitely, we're going to gain 10 more feet of draft. It's going to go down to 52 feet. So we'll be able to bring in the larger vessels that are in demand. For example, when a steel manufacturer wants to bring in steel, they want to be able to pile as much as they can on one ship, and being able to have that draft gives us that capability, which makes us very unique in comparison to other ports around us in our region. So that there is definitely one of the most important things. When we talk about LNG, we have to talk about the dredge, because these were working in parallel with each other. The LNG project, the draft, the BIH project itself, it was such a success in how it was designed, how it was financed. $400 million of that dredge came from the private partner, which is Rio Grande, next decade, Rio Grande LNG. The Port of Brownsville, we've put 71 million and the Corps of Engineers has put 68 million. When you look at that, that the P3 approach on this was definitely successful, and definitely what we've been told from the Corps of Engineers is this is the most unique project and will be the template for future projects in the United States.
Wow. So we've got obviously the energy. We're talking about the dredging, everything you've got going on right there, job creation, and now a 118-acre shovel-ready business park. What's the vision there?
Well, the vision there is to bring in light manufacturing, to be able to have a hub of facilities where people can come in and maybe even hybrid their company from Mexico or from abroad and be here and, to do some sort of light industrial action there. The reason why is because we know that's a job creator. For example, Westa, the milling company that's coming in, the sunflower oil company coming in, it's going to be 40 jobs. 40 jobs in a 10-acre space. That's pretty good use of land. So, and being able to
not your average paying job.
not your average paying job. And also the benefit that our industrial park has, and City of Brownsville has wonderful industrial parks, but ours has a benefit in the sense that it's right next to the channel. The maritime component is very strong, and it provides an opportunity for a company to come in and hybrid their operation, or come and build one themselves that's their sole standing operation, and be able to take advantage of the maritime component at the Port of Brownsville.
Yeah, the proximity is phenomenal. You just finished talking about how right now, more than ever, we've at least from our perspective in the city, the hot topic people are looking at and wondering what the future holds is those tariffs, right? And a lot of stuff that we're doing is dealing with Mexico, but Brownsville's getting a lot of attention because of the potential tariffs the next couple of years for people to want to move businesses here towards the border,
Yes,
move them
sir.
south. Am I correct in saying that the port reflects about 90% of its goods shipped go to Mexico?
90 to 95% goes to Mexico, and that's to supply the maquila industry. We have a very strong partnership with Mexico.
And what's driving that strong trade relationship? Is it the history? Is it that we're on the border?
I believe it's a lot of things, and it's good that you mentioned history, because a lot of times not everything is economics.
Mhm.
When we live in a region that is so unique and that can assimilate to both sides of the border, we can assimilate to the United States or we can assimilate to Mexico. I think they feel very comfortable with us, and we have the capabilities and the facilities to serve their needs, for the maquila industry. So I think it's a combination of many things.
Wow. How's nearshoring? A shift from manufacturing closer to home,
Mm.
helping the Port of Brownsville grow. Can you explain some of its logistical advantages, security, workforce, and port infrastructures?
Sure, sure. When you're nearshoring, provides an opportunity for a company to come over here and have a footprint in the United States. When you mentioned a couple seconds ago, you're talking about tariffs. A lot of these companies are going to bring some of their manufacturing over here, one, to avoid tariffs, and two, take advantage of all the assets that we have here at the Port of Brownsville. So we're already starting to see speckles of that coming in. It's actually quite a bit of interest in the Port of Brownsville, and I believe that the tariff scare, lack of better words, or the tariff situation that we're going through right now, has made it has provided that opportunity for us. Security. You mentioned security. The Port of Brownsville is a MARSEC controlled sector, meaning that there is security, and anyone who feels or a company feels that they want to bring their manufacturing here, they're already in a safe location. They're already in a secure location, to where they probably don't have that same type of, I don't know, umbrella if they were in somewhere else.
And obviously, the advantages of workforce, right? With nearshoring, I mean, we just been talking about that, jobs, and
Sure.
that's a big deal. But let's look ahead, the road ahead. So I know you guys have a state of the port.
Yes, we have one coming up May 29th.
Okay.
And the future for the Port of Brownsville is all in how we design it. And remember, the community, the commission, we're very, very lucky that the commission, our executive team, and the community all together are building the port. Maybe we're not directly involved with each other every day, but we're all partaking in the building of what's happening around here. As the port moves forward, I think it's very important for us to diversify our portfolio. All of us have seen what happened in Pennsylvania, what happened in Detroit. When you go in on all one industry and when that industry fails, what happens? The community is bankrupt at that point. So I think it's very important for us to have a mixture of many different type of industries at the Port of Brownsville, so that if there is a catastrophic loss of industry, we have a way to make it up somewhere else so that we always assure that we have these jobs in the community. So as speaking and moving forward, that's the most important right now is, opportunity is one thing, but taking the right chances and taking the right opportunities is another. And I think it's more the most important right now is we make good decisions.
Yeah, and the future also. I know that I was there about a year ago, and now it's really kind of revving up the partnership that you guys have there with Texas A&M
Yes.
and the educational initiatives that the port also is looking towards, right?
Absolutely. Workforce development, it's one of the pillars of economic development. I mean, it's one of the main components. Sometimes we want to look at land, water, power, but workforce development is one of the things that site selectors look very hard at. And I think we live in a very unique community where we have skill sets and we have an abundance of people with these skill sets that can take advantage of getting this job here instead of having to travel to another state or another country to get a good paying job for that skill set. So now that we're going to be able to provide that industry here, we can keep our people here.
Yeah. How about aerospace potential? What do you see?
Aerospace potential, that goes with whatever Elon wants at the time. But no, aerospace potential, definitely. A lot of the modules we have already had project shipment come in from SpaceX. They've taken advantage of the deep water channel, and they've brought in tower components, fuel components, and different components of their spacecraft, I guess you say.
Hmm.
And yes, definitely, that's definitely going to help us in the long. That's definitely going to be a big part of the port.
Yeah, I look at that and looking kind of where we're headed. So one of the things that I was discussing at different podcasts, I don't share that stuff with you, is if you really look at Brownsville, it's one of the top 5 cities in the United States that people want to move to. It's considered an economic hotspot. It is booming for future business. And a big part of that is obviously the aerospace. It's the SpaceX component, but a large part that is everything you guys are doing there at the port. And so one of the things that I'm particularly very big on as a commissioner is youth development. And so the other day I had some of the students from St. Joseph Academy go do a port tour.
Absolutely.
And I want to share the story with you because I think these are the stories that are important. Is kids that went out there and saw the port. They said, we've driven by this port all the time going to South Padre. We were so unfamiliar with all of these amazing things that are happening, jobs that are happening. And so now they look at Brownsville as a potential destination when back, 15, 20, 30 years ago, we lived in the border, which is really a brain drain society where
Absolutely.
people say, well, I'm going to go, but there's nothing for me here in the future. But now there is something for people here in the future.
Absolutely. And I think that's the best gift the port can give, or our community, Brownsville too, is be able to provide them type of jobs so where our kids don't have to leave. So we don't have to lose that brain power and someone else take advantage of it. Yeah, the trip with the students that came down last week, they were very quiet and they were absorbing everything. When they saw the ships, they saw all the, different components moving and how they interrelate with each other. It was very exciting for them. And I think they were in awe. And it's hard. These kids were about 14 years old, so it's hard to get a 14-year-old kid in awe, but they were definitely in awe.
Yeah. For the viewers listening, you've never been to the Port of Brownsville. What, besides all the information and data that we just threw out there, someone watching that doesn't know, and you get like an elevator pitch right now of the port, of why they should learn more about the port or get involved in whatever capacity about the port.
Well, I
What
think
would
that
you, what would that elevator pitch look like?
I think that elevator pitch includes this. It's your port. It's not It's not just the Port of Brownsville or Brownsville. It's the Valley's port. So when we keep that in mind, be involved, ask questions. Any doubts or anything that you want to know, definitely come visit us. We'll definitely always be there to be able to show what we can. at the time, and be able to enjoy the fruits of what it's producing. And the port is so significant to all of us because you got to think about the vision 100 years ago. When someone said 100 years ago, someone a lot smarter than us here said, hey, we need to build a 17-mile long channel to connect the Port of Brownsville. So what was the vision? It was to connect us to the rest of the world. And a vision 100 years ago, this was thought about, this came to fruition. And here we are 100 years later talking about the same port that someone talked about building 100 years ago. So I think it's amazing. I think, when you see, the human experience and what's going on around here right now, the positive side of it, there's always a historical significance to where we're at right now.
That's excellent. Any last statements, comments, thank yous, something we didn't talk about that maybe you want to talk about in your role there at the Port of Brownsville? Anything, this stage is yours.
I think one of the main things that's very important for all of us to understand is we've been pretty much a throughput port for many years. Product comes in, we charge by the tonnage, and then it goes somewhere else and it gets made into something, and value added is added somewhere else. The Port of Brownsville right now, what we're moving towards is keep the value added here in Brownsville. For example, if you're going to bring in something, we want to be able to produce something, add value, so that money stays here, and try to hit that as many times before that product leaves to its final destination. So the transition from a throughput, will always be a break bulk port, but where this product goes somewhere else, we want to be able to bring in the raw materials and build something here and send it out and keep that added value here. So I think this is a fundamental transition that we're looking at right now and that we're enduring. And I think it'll provide for the community for a long time.
That's excellent. Any last thoughts? Any last words?
I'm good.
You're good? What do you think of the set?
I like it. How'd the interview go?
Good. Well, I'm going to just do my end.
Oh, sorry, sir.
You're good.
Yeah, we can get it out. Yeah.
Oh, of course. That's the beauty of doing it like this. Well, Bill, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you taking time to inform all of us about what's happening in the port. Definitely a lot to learn. A lot of information was shared and gathered. The reason we podcast is so people could see this video over and over again and go back and rehash and fact check us and see what we can do.
Absolutely.
And but thank you for your time. I really appreciate you, and say thank you to the commission, to all of your commissioners for the hard work that they do over there to make our port, make it not just a regional powerhouse, but now a household name worldwide. I think that's gotten worldwide attention. But folks, this does it for this episode. This Bill Dietrich, the man in charge at the port and running the show over there, shared some great information with us. Brownsville at large. We'll catch you next time.
Brownsville at large, voices that shine.